Welcome back to our Python class, and today we will look at file operations, how to read and write file streams. So it's not for nothing that I have a nice picture of streams, because, well, we usually work with files in a streaming mode. Well, what does it mean? Well, let's open up our read and write .py file from day 12 on. Again, so what is a file after all? File, basically it's a set of, well, continuous bytes, right, for storing data. Modern devices such as phones try to hide this file concept. I've seen some younger people actually who don't really know what a file is, right? But I imagine most of us have a pretty good idea, right? So basically it's a set of files, set of bytes for storing data, right? There's some ending, of course, right? There is some difficulty, of course, arises because we have so-called binary files where all bytes are basically allowed, or so-called plain text files which will not have all of the special characters inside the text files. So also additional difficulty, of course, is that we have Unicode, right, which actually is encoded using multiple bytes. But when we use text files, well, we don't really want to see all the encoding numbers. We actually want to see the actual symbols, the emoji, the Latvian or Lithuanian or Russian or Chinese or any other symbols, right? We don't really want to see the code numbers. And so in order to work with files, we will need to know how to create a stream, right? And also we'll learn how important it is to close a file. So let me first get started. So let me comment everything out. On, we'll need some libraries here, right? So there are some complicating things. There are multiple libraries in Python to work with files. Again, OS is a nice lower level library for maybe a little bit older one, right? The newer one is this one here, which I think is a more recommended one these days for most file operations, right? And there's some other ones such as shell utilities. And these two, of course, are just for convenience, string and datetime DT, right? Okay, so to get started, we need to know where we are, like in the famous saying by one of our politicians, where we are, where do we stand, right? So let's get the current working directory, right? And yes, we are here, right? So notice this is so-called absolute path, like this is exactly specific to my machine, my particular machine. So if I run this on different machine, I have different username, of course I'll have a different path, right? This tells you the C drive, they have a subfolder, user subfolder, my username, my GitHub subfolder, then this project, then the actual day subfolder and the actual file. So that's where we stand today, right? That's the current working directory, right? Yeah, but actually notice the current working directory is this one here, right? It's actually the root directory. Why? Because our terminal is actually here, right? If I go to cd day 12, right? If I change it here, right? I'm here. Let's run it now from there. Let's see if it works. Right? You see, notice my current working directory is here. I'm up here. So that's the important part. Sometimes a good sanity check to see where does your script, where does your application think you are. And again, there are ways of changing this working directory. Okay, so let's find out how to find what kind of files we have here. So OS list directory, right? And I will have, notice, this is my root directory and I have a list of files basically, right? This is an older way of doing it. I could do it also this, find the files in my current working directory, right? This gives you the file address, right, where you are, and it will give you the same thing, right? Exactly the same. So there is a more modern way of doing it, right? Actually, right? So files, right? This is a newer way of doing it. It uses all familiar wildcards. So this will give me all the files. I check current path. Dot stands for the current path, right? So stands for current path, current directory, right? Right. Similarly, stands for parent directory, you know, one level up. Thank you, AI. And so dot here, so this means current directory, and I do something glob, right? This means I only look through the files, and in this case it's a wildcard, which will give me all the files in current directory, right? Because I'm doing a joker, right? Something exactly very similar, like when I search my PC, right? I could search for some files right here, right? I also use wildcards. Okay, so now let's see, since this glob, it does not return a list. It gives you something like a generator. Remember, we use like range, something like something for iterating. So what you probably want, right, unless you have a very huge file, you know, list. Incidentally, there's no limit how many files are in a directory. At least on Windows, it used to be 65,000 something, but now it is basically unlimited. So I've seen directories is hundreds of thousands of files. It is slower to go through them, actually, of course, right? So yeah, but notice something here. Here we get something, this path gives me not just the name of the file, but actually something called Windows path, because I'm on a Windows machine. If you were on a Mac or Linux, you would get something like a POSIX path, which is a path specific to your machine. So why is this better? Why do you want this actually? Well, if your code is possibly running across multiple operating systems, right, you want to use paths, right? You will have less problems because it will automatically adjust to your machine. Okay, so a few more tips how to get files and only directories. So we can do this, right? So this will give me only files in my current in my files list, right? And this will only give me only directories. So let's check. Right, this is also useful. So yeah, so only directories, my files, right, and my directories. Print my folders. Okay, I mean this AI is really smart. Okay, so let's do this. Yeah, so my files, sorry, my directories. Well, indeed, you see all the directories, you know, for our lectures, and also we have a git folder, which is for hidden git housekeeping, bookkeeping files, right? So yeah, indeed, you can separate your contents into directories and folders, right? So could be useful, right? You can also do things like this, right? You can do some more specific search. For example, of course, you could do glob here also. You could do dot text here as well, but you could do something like this. If F for F in files, if F suffix is text, right? This will give you all the files, well, which have a text suffix, right? So this gives me what, only one, day to 12 test. It gives you the file there, right? Also, you can do the same thing, right? In a one-liner, right? Same thing, right? Using a wildcard, right? And print. This will give you exactly the same thing. Text files also, right? And notice again, so you check current path, you do a global search within the current directory, all right? And then you check if it's actually a file. Well, I mean, it's unlikely you have a folder called text, but who knows? Maybe you have one, right? So maybe let's better be sure, right? So again, you see, you got the correct result because in a root I have one simple test file, you know, just test file. Okay, now let's do something more. We can use rglob, which stands for recursive glob, right? So we can search for everything, right? All text files. Let's do something like this. Not even parent. Let's do a current directory. All in current directory. Current directory on subfolders. On subfolders, right? Very long name for a variable, right? On, let's see, print all text files. I mean, I would not recommend this kind of name in real life, but let's try it. So this is R global, notice. So this gives me all the text files, day to 12 text, day to 12 frost. We'll see Weidenbaums, right? For those who know Latvian poets, and also another test. So it finds me all the files, just like, I'll show you, if I went to my GitHub, right? If I went to GitHub here, I went to our course here, and I went to here, and I searched for text. It should be very similar, right? I hope so. Yeah, indeed, it's exactly the same thing, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, same files. Okay, and also it shows you the path here as well, right? So only difference, of course, this gives you, when you do it in Windows, it gives you the full path. This gives me path relative to the current working directory, right? Okay, so-called relative path. But okay, so we know how to get files, list of files. We can filter them, right, various ways using list comprehensions and using the glob, an R glob, right, recursive one, right, and also a global one, just a regular search. Okay, so those are, I think, convenient. But let's get to opening some files, right? So let's open up. There's a file called Frost. It's by famous poet Robert Frost, right? Two Roads poem, also pretty famous, and we would like to read it in a text format. And how do we do it? Well, let's see how much time we have to do this. We do have some time, and let me first close all the subfolder search, so we don't really. I'll leave only the current working directory, right? I'll only leave this one here. So again, we are here. So how would I open it up? Well, I could actually do a full open it absolutely, right? So what's my absolute path? Would be something like this. I could do all of this part here, right? If I go into here, right, I could copy it here, I believe. I forgot how it was, but you could copy the file path actually, right? Maybe you can do copy path, or I think the shift copy, control shift. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, control shift. No, command shift right click. Yeah, copy. I think there was a way of copying properties, right? Copy path. Yeah, you could do that, and then, right, I could absolute path, absolute path. And it won't find it, right? Yeah, but it won't really find it like this. I'll do it like here, right? So notice also, yeah, there's a problem with this. That it actually, this part here, right? These are Windows presents as problems, right? So this is probably what we want to do is, you will have to. These are used for escaping characters, right? So it might not work exactly like the way you want, right? It's a string, but if you have some name like U or T, right? This is in Windows it might give you some problems, right? But let's try to open it, right? Again, and this is generally we want to avoid it, right? So that's why. So generally we want to avoid using absolute path, right? Because they're different, because they are different from everyone, right? But let's see if this works. So I'll open up stream, fstream, open up absolute path, right? And it won't work, probably won't work, because we don't have the characters. And I could read my text, text equals fstream read, and and then we need to close it, because it's very important to close the file. Crucial. Context manager. Right, and print text. Yeah, let's see if this works. I imagine it won't work because we have these underscore characters. But yeah, you see Unicode error, right? Can decode. It thinks this is Unicode, right? So what do we do? Let's do R. I think this will work. Yeah, so it worked. So I use R. So I used R to indicate that this is a raw string. No escape, no escape characters, right? So R, right? In this case I saved time. Otherwise I would have to use double backslash, everywhere. Yeah. So that's, yeah. So I saved some time. So hopefully you see why I use this R. So this special symbol, right? Again, but this is, I hope you agree this is a pain, and also because it will change, right? I go to different machine and my files, I download Git, and it won't be there, right? But also you saw the idea of how easy it is to open a file and read. But so generally we want to use absolute relative paths. So relative paths are dependent on where we are right now. So we are here, right? So, well, how would you open Frost? Well, let's do our path, right? We actually, will this work? What do you think? Well, it won't work, right? This won't work. Why? Right? So this won't work. File not found error. No such file directory Frost. Why? Because here we don't have it. So how would you open? Well, the easiest way to solve it, right? The easiest way to solve it. We can, so I'll do fstream. Let's see what it suggests is open. Yeah. But we need to go day 12, right? Day 12, file operations. I think it's capitalized, right? Something like this, right? And then we can do the same thing, right? And it will work. Command close it, fstream close, and print OK. So hopefully you'll see now it should work. Right, and it works. You see, I have my nice little text, line by line, right? Well, actually, it's one big pile of text, but we have all of it. I hope you trust me that the rest of the lines are there. Okay, so this, again, it's possible to do this, right? So let's do something simpler. I'll just change the directory. I'll basically, in order to save time, I'll just go here, cd, day 12, right? File operations, right? No. I don't need this anymore, right? Now this will work, right? Why? Because my current working directory is actually here. And there is actually a way of changing it. There is a command to change your current working directory, right? You can do it by, there's a command in it, but for now I'll just use it here, right? That I am actually here, sitting here. So, right. So now I'm using my current working directory is actually this here. Right. So again, most of the problems in file reading are when your system or your application doesn't know where it should be, right? It's in the wrong directory basically. That's the most of the problems where they arise. Okay, so now we are in the correct directory and we can read the current file. Okay, this is all good, but next step is to use a context manager, because inevitably, right, you know, often we forget to close the file. I mean, again, AI read my mind again, right? So that's a problem we're trying to solve, right? So it's highly recommended that you use this approach. And again, so you'll use a so-called context manager, right? So use something called a viz. So you say viz open Frost, that's text, you know, the file name or file path actually, as fstream. Again, this is name fstream, of course, fstream, you know, fstream, you know, fstream could be called anything. F file, it's you know, file in, etc. Right? So yeah, so fstream is of course not it's just basically a variable, right? It's something called, notice something says here, or Visual Studio Code says it's text IO wrapper, right? So it's special object basically for streams. So it's not so we basically open a stream, and then we read the whole of the stream, right? We read the whole stream, everything, right? And then file is still open, and then we close it and we can print all of the poem, right? Let's print the whole poem, right? Yes. If those who are very observant will notice, not everything is peachy. Some things didn't work quite right. You notice there's some special characters here, something weird going on, right? If you check here, it's not here, right? This character apparently is not part of the standard English character set, and it's presenting a problem, right? So that will be our next thing to solve, right? It will be our next thing to solve. Yeah, by the way, yeah, you can change directory also like this, by the way, right? If I went to, right, if I was actually here, right, if I went back, right, you can change directories also using Python, right? So, let's move on to that. And again, you should keep in mind that the streams, right, are actually, before we solve this problem, about the file streams. Usually you want to read only once. So this is here, right? Yeah, so this is a problem, right? So let's try this approach right here, right? Fred, right? So I open up Frost and I reprint it. File is still open. Try again, right? And we'll see that, you see, I have one poem, right? I still have the bad character, but I'm trying again, and I don't get anything the second time. Why? Because generally you don't read the file more than once. It's with rare exceptions. Basically, you read once, and you probably want to close it, right? Or I guess unless you want to write it, then you might want to keep it separately. But so the idea is this: that the stream, right? It's more like a needle, right? It's like a record, or because actually the hard drives, older data storage technologies are very similar, to record players, right? And of course, record players are now becoming popular again, right? You have a needle and you have a record, right? So you read everything, and your needle is at end, finished reading, right? Of course, modern SSD solid-state drives don't work like that, but still the analogy holds. So once you read, you are done, unless you really want to read it again. And this is rare, right? It's rare, right? We can reset it, right? We can do this, right? We can seek, we can reset it, and then we'll read the first two characters. You see? We can do again seek 15, right? We can reset it to read 5 characters. So this approach is, you probably will not need it unless you encounter some really strange data format. You see diverged, you read you seek 15 characters up front, right? And you read here, from here, right? This is 15 characters here. I think you can trust me on that, and then you do 5 more, right? Okay, so yeah, so this is an approach you can use, but generally you don't want to do it, because again, it's you have much better, higher level abstractions to work with your files. Okay, so yeah, so you can seek, but generally you read or read lines, right? We'll get that next. You'll get that next, right? So you have this. So again, so it's a file stream. It's actually more like a file needle, right? Somewhere on your record, right? On your hard drive. But actually, it could be any storage, right? So let's open up correctly. So we saw how the problem was that reading a file gave me. So with open up, right? With open, right? So with open Frost, right? Come on, Frost. Again, I'm lazy. I guess I gotta do it myself, right? As if, right? Text equals fread, right? Did I do something wrong? I guess not. I don't know. Print text. No, why? I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's something I missed. I must have a. Maybe something, I tried to do something too much. I don't know, it's not doing it correctly, right? Well, they're here, right? So I want to do it here, right? Print text, right? My AI got confused, right? We are files again. File is closed already. No access to F. Yeah, indeed. Right, okay, yeah. So again, but we want to solve the problem of this, of this character. So oftentimes you'll be working with non-English texts, or maybe have some extra, even in English text, you'll encounter some characters which are not in English, right? Not in a part of the basic ASCII format, right? ASCII table, right? So, right, these are the only characters that will be recognized by the default ASCII reader, because of course historically that's all you got, right? So what we want these days, we probably want to do encoding. So we pass this open function, we say parameter encoding UTF-8, and we will be able to read the whole stream on correctly, right? Also notice this is going to be a list of files, right? Right. So this is another alt. At the same time, I'm introducing a new function, read lines. What does that mean? It means I'm going to read each line into a list, right? And there's a new line character here, right? So it will actually read each line by line. Let's take a look. You see? And hopefully you can check. Well, maybe we'll do it again. We'll go up. I'll close it up, but let's do a copy here. So viz open. Come on. AI is, I guess, yeah, as F, right? F read, but I want encoding, right? I want the encoding UTF-8, right? And now print text will work correctly. Now we can read correctly, right? We want to add open function to, yeah, all characters in all languages, right? Of course, by the way, it's not guaranteed that you have UTF-8 encoding. 99% of time these days you'll have UTF-8 encoding, but you might encounter some, for example, I don't know, Soviet time files. Sometimes I've seen some people use some other, there are some other encodings available actually, right? Yeah, but notice, so now it works correctly. So there are other encodings, list other encodings. Yeah, thank you. Again, if you see here, you see how, thank you, how nice documentation is. And we check, you see, there's ASCII, Big 5, traditional Chinese. These are older ones, but these are from 90s, right? IBM from, I think, Baltic language. This is some really strange one. I never used this one. But some of the other ones also. I think Western Europe, also Baltic one, CP. Maybe this one, 858, Icelandic, no, but 851 I thought it was. Central, yeah, 852 I think it was, right? So if you have some older files, maybe you'll encounter some of these weird encodings, Ukrainian and so on, right? Again, but this is also if you have to open some old files. Again, generally newer stuff you will not. Yeah, this one also sometimes appears to me, at least in my experience, right? So yeah, so these are all supported, right? Out of the box, you just have to change the parameter here, right? Okay, now so now that we know how to read it, right? I again want to mention that you can read also, oftentimes you will want to read the file in a list, right? You can, it's much better. So of course you could do it here using a break with a new line character, right? But it's probably easier to do it here, right? Read lines automatically on, this will be a list. So notice something about the list. It does not strip the new line, it keeps the new line. Why does it notice how it's present? It's so because oftentimes it is present because yeah, we read it as is, and often we will no, well, we want to remove it also. We will want to write, you know, anyway, yeah, right, anyways, right? So yeah, so that's why it's present. Of course we can strip it, right? We can strip it, right? So how would you do it? Well, you can basically use rstrip. I'll show you the couple different ways, but out of these, recommended way would be right strip new line. It's the most precise. This will be all white space. Again, maybe you want some white space strip, maybe not, right? And maybe I'll add some white space here somewhere. Let's do here, right? Right, Control S, right? Add some white space, but we'll see the difference, right? And this doesn't strip it, right? And right, this is just for printing, right? And also this is the ugliest way to do it. Just don't show the last character, right? Well, generally this will work, this approach will work, but if you don't have a new line, for example, this last line does not have a new line, you know, there's no 28, so there's no new line here, so it will strip this dot, right? So let's test it. Yeah, you can see there's no dot here, yeah, right? So these are different ways of stripping the white space, but this would be the most precise if you really need to, right? So how would I do it if I want to have my characters without the new lines, right? So lines without lines, lines without new lines, right? So this one. So line writes tip n for line lines, and of course now it will be print lines without new line, right? So this will be recommend if you don't want them, right? If you don't plan on writing back, right? So this will be good approach, right? You see, there's no new lines anymore. Okay, right. So what else would we want to do with files? If you can read it, basically, our reading is really simple. Right? We open, right, as a stream, we read, whether whole text or just as lines. You probably want to write them back, all right? And we have some time, right? Yeah, actually we will want to do that in a moment. Yeah, we still have a few more minutes. Let's do that. So let's write back a file, and then we'll check on checking for needles afterwards for filtering. We'll do that. But let's write the file back. So let's do something this. Let's write first 3 lines back. So we have my lines with a new line. Probably I will want to have them back. So maybe with open frost, but I will want to first 4 lines text, right? Now mode equals write, write, encoding UTF-8, right? And again file out as file out, f out, right? And I'll do file out, write, you know, I could do write, I could do write lines, you know, write lines, but the only thing is which ones. Yeah, lines first, yeah, that's the easiest one, right? And of course this will be, right, so this will be, so writing, for writing we use the mode y, right, or to append, right? Right, let's check. We have a frost first 4 lines. Okay, how about this? But this also, this will mode A will already the file, right? You probably, you know, you probably want that usually, but also let's maybe don't want it, right? So I'll show you also how to append the file. Yeah, right. So I'll write some right. Maybe I'll also write, you know, fault write. Thank you. This is a new line, right? And I'll do add new line here, right? I need to add, so generally, right, you know, in the file, right? So write lines, or this is a new line. Okay, so let's take a look. So append, right? So let's check it out. You see, I wrote the first 4 lines, and I wrote 4 more, including a blank one, and I appended 1 more line, and I also added new lines character. So actually there's 10 lines total in here. All right, so that is actually a short introduction how to read and write files. The rest will be basically just filtering text, basically text, more of the text related stuff. So again, recap. To read, we use viz, open, the path to the file. We use encoding. Generally, you set the encoding to UTF-8 generally, right? It will work even for non-UTF encodings, the old ones. And then for writing, we use mode W. We have special writers. Then write lines or write, right? All right, so that should conclude our introduction to reading and writing files. Thank you.